Hi, my name's Kim J and I'm a visually impaired chef. I'm also a volunteer for RNIB. I've written two cookery books called A Taste of Spice and A Sense of Cooking. Both are in large print and all profits are going to RNIB. Now today I'm going to make spinach patra. Patra is like a steamed roll which you can either deep fry or cook in the oven. It's a snack and it's extremely tasty. Now there's a lot of ingredients, but don't panic, it is a very easy recipe to make. We're going to need flour. Now the first flour that we use is gram flour, chickpea flour or basin flour. Very easily sourced in all supermarkets. And we're going to need approximately 2 or 3 large handfuls of it. Rice flour. Now if you can't find rice flour, don't worry, you can omit that. But the same quantity as the chickpea flour. And the third flour that we use is plain flour. Again, the same quantity, about 3 or 4 sort of handfuls. The quantity is going to depend on how the mixture comes together. You're also going to need a large handful of finely chopped coriander, a large bag of baby spinach, 3 green chilies, which we're going to chop really finely. You can add more or take some away depending on how you are with spices. About 4 or 5 cloves of garlic, which we're going to chop very finely, and about 1.5 inches of root ginger, which again we're going to chop very finely. You're going to need Greek yogurt. Now I'm using vegan Greek yogurt, but you can use ordinary Greek yogurt, that's up to you. About 4 tablespoons of black mustard seeds. Now if you can't find the black mustard seeds, don't worry, you can omit them. You'll need 4 tablespoons of sugar and about 4 tablespoons of sesame seeds. You're also going to need a couple of dashes of lemon juice. And we're going to need salt, chili powder, black pepper and turmeric. And these are the ingredients for my spinach patra. I have a large mixing bowl into which I'm going to put that lovely spinach. Like I said, a really easy recipe this. The coriander now goes in. Now I'm going to put in the chopped garlic, the chopped ginger and the chopped chilies. And into that now I'm going to put approximately 1.5 teaspoons of salt, the same amount of chili powder. If you want, you can make this less or more depending on your taste. Approximately 1 teaspoon of black pepper and about 1.5 teaspoons of turmeric. Now into that I'm going to throw in the black mustard seeds, the sugar and the sesame seeds, all go into there with a dash of lemon juice. I'm now going to put in that Greek yogurt and then I'm going to stir this mixture so it becomes almost like a wet slush. Now at this stage I'm going to put approximately 2 tablespoons of each one of the flours. Now I never give the quantities of the flours because it depends on how much spinach, how big the bag of spinach is, how big the Greek yogurt is, which is a large carton. And it depends on atmosphere, whether or not the mixture is loose. When it's a warm day, this mixture becomes loose, so you need more flour. Now, I've mixed it all together. I put the flour in, and now I'm going to stir it in. At this stage, I always use my hands because it's more tactile, and you get a better feel of what the mixture's like. Now, at the moment, it's very, very wet, so I'm going to add a little bit more flour. You want this, it's almost like a dough. and you want it sort of firm but not too firm, and you just keep mixing in the flours until you get the right texture. Now this mixture is firmer. It's still wet, but it is a lot firmer. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put it in my hands, and it comes together, but it's still very loose in texture. You don't want it hard, almost like a dough, but sort of very loose and very gloopy, I think's the word. I have cut some foil paper, approximately 20 centimetres long, and I'm going to grease the foil paper with some oil. Now make sure you cover this rectangular piece of foil all the way across. Now once I've done that, I get a handful of this mixture that you've made, and I just very gently kind of form it into, it's like a log shape, and I put it on the foil paper and I turn it into like a large sausage Swiss roll kind of shape. Literally just cover the foil paper over it and roll the mixture into the foil paper. Very gently twist the sides and just put it in. And now what you do is you just very gently on a unit just roll the shape, so it's a much more rounder sausage type of shape, and you carry on doing this until all those mixtures are in the foil paper. I have a steamer. Now I've got an electric steamer. It has different layers, but if you don't have one, you can use a normal steamer on the hob, but be very, very careful with the hot water. I prefer the electric one because you're not messing about with boiling hot water on the hob, and for me it is relatively safe. Now I've done all those mixtures into these large Swiss roll sausage shapes, and I'm putting them into the steamer. Now I've managed to get about 4.5 of these rolls out. I'm going to put them into the steamer, stack it up, switch it on, and I'm going to steam it for 25 minutes. The spinach patra have been in the steamer for 25 minutes. I've pulled them out, let them cool for 5 minutes, and then very, very gently unroll it from the foil paper and put it on a baking tray. Now at this stage they are firm to the touch with just a little bit of give. Now we need them to set, so I'm going to put them into the fridge now for 30 minutes before I pull them out and slice them up and cook them. I pulled out the spinach patra from the fridge. Very, very carefully slice them up and put them onto a baking tray. Now normally in an Indian family we would deep fry these, but it's not very healthy, and when you're very visually impaired and you're not confident in the kitchen, it's not very safe either. So you can cook them in the oven. So I'm putting these on a baking tray, and I will put them in the oven for about 20 minutes at about 180 degrees C until they're a nice golden brown. Now you get a lot out of this recipe. As you're slicing it, there's no way you could eat all of this, no matter how much you love them, in one sitting. So I freeze them. They are fabulous frozen, but frozen at this stage without cooking. So put them in the freezer, and whenever visitors come, pull them out, and there you have it, a wonderful snack, all ready to go without much effort. These spinach patra have been in the oven for 20 minutes, and they've come out and they are crisp, as you can hear, and they've got a bit of a bite to them, and they are delicious. How do you eat them? With a little bit of hot sauce or chili sauce or mint sauce. Now I've also done some deep fried versions, so you can see the deep difference. It's a much darker brown. The actual patra is much crisper, and obviously you've got that slightly caramelised taste to them, and you really must try these guys. They are one of my favourite recipes. Now you have a recipe for a great dish. But when you're in the kitchen, there are certain safety guides and rules that you should adhere to, and which keeps you safe. Now, one of the things that I do before I start cooking is I make sure that I've got shoes on that are sturdy with good grips. I make sure that there's nothing on the floor that I can trip over, and there are no spillages or liquid or condensation on the floor that makes it a bit of a hazard. Now, before cooking, the first thing that you do, as we all know, is wash our hands thoroughly. And especially when you're dealing with raw meat at every stage, wash your hands thoroughly. It stops cross-contamination. It keeps you and your family safe. When you're using the oven and the hob, know your oven and hob really well. Now, I use tactile markings so that I know exactly what temperature to put the oven on and what setting, so that I've not put the grill on when I should be putting the oven on. Now, with the hob, whenever you're sort of putting anything on the hob, make sure the handle is not sticking out. Now, I like to keep the handle at approximately 10 to 12. And the reason for that is it's not near enough to the unit for you to accidentally knock it off. It is not over another hob which may be on, so the handle's getting hot. So this is the safest position. Now, if you're boiling anything, be very, very careful. Don't fill the pan up too much. And if possible, use the boiler alert, which tells you when that liquid is bubbling away and it's hot, and it keeps you safe. If you're not comfortable with the hob and the oven, use the microwave whenever you can. It's a lot safer. And every time you are taking things out of the oven or from the microwave, because remember, plates and dishes get extremely hot in the microwave, use oven gloves. Now, I like to use thermal oven gloves. They're a lot safer. Don't be tempted to use tea towels or anything else. And they literally go to extreme temperatures, so you're very safe with them. Whenever you cut any food in the kitchen, use safe cutting methods. Keep the blade away from your fingers, so set it a couple of millimeters away from your fingers, and that way you're safe all the time. Now, if you're not confident with a knife, you can use appliances like food processors. Make sure you know how they work properly, and keep safe. And if you're still not confident, ask somebody else to do it. It is better to be safe than have an injury. If you have any cuts or you cut yourself whilst you're in the kitchen, put a plaster on it. And if you have a burn, run it under cold water. And if it's bad, you seek medical advice straight away. Whenever you cook meat, always ensure that the meat is thoroughly cooked, because you know, raw meat will give you food poisoning. Now, the best optimum temperature to cook meat is between 66 degrees and 73 degrees. Use a food thermometer if you're not too sure. They do have talking food thermometers, which you can get quite easily. And you store the meat as soon as you can. As soon as it's cooled down, store it straight away in the fridge, and read the advice on storage on the labels.